Okay, welcome back. Now we're going into the war rooms. This is where they commanded the fort in World War II to stop the pesky Germans and Italians raiding and invading the island. Got really close then.
The British started work on the secret underground complex in 1940 during the Siege of Malta, when a series of tunnels under the Upper Baracca Gardens and the saluting battery that had been used as slave quarters during the Hospitaller period began to be expanded. The complex was completed in early 1943. The site takes its name from the nearby Lascaris battery, which was itself named after Giovanni Paolo Lascaris, a Grand Master who had built a garden on the site later occupied by the battery. The Lascaris War Rooms contained operations rooms for each of the fighting services, from where both the defense of Malta and other operations in the Mediterranean were coordinated. The operation headquarters at Lascaris communicated directly with radar stations around the Maltese islands, and it was equipped with Type X machines. The fleets were led from the Navy plotting room, while the anti-aircraft guns operations room was responsible for the air defense of the island. In the coast defense room, defensive operations in the case of an amphibious invasion were planned. The filter room displayed information received from various places, including the naval station at Auberge de Castille. The Siege of Malta in World War II was a military campaign in the Mediterranean theatre. From June 1940 to November 1942, the fight for the control of the strategically important island of the British Crown colony of Malta pitted the air and naval forces of Fascist Italy and Nazi Germany against the Royal Air Force and the Royal Navy. The opening of a new front in North Africa in June 1940 increased Malta's already considerable value. British air and sea forces based on the island could attack Axis ships transporting supplies and reinforcements from Europe. General Erwin Rommel, de facto field commander of Panzer Army Africa in North Africa, recognized its importance quickly. In May 1941, he warned that, without Malta, the Axis will end by losing control of North Africa. The Axis resolved to bomb or starve Malta into submission, to soften it up for invasion, by attacking its ports, towns, cities, and allied shipping supplying the island. Malta was one of the most intensively bombed areas during the war. The German Luftwaffe and Italian Regia Aeronautica flew a total of 3,000 bombing raids over 2 years, dropping 6,700 tons of bombs on the Grand Harbour area alone. Their success would have allowed a combined German, Italian amphibious landing, Operation Hercules, supported by German airborne forces Fallschirmjäger, but this did not happen. Air power was the method chosen to attack Malta. The Regia Aeronautica Italian Air Force began the aerial bombardment of the island from air bases in Sicily. On the first day, 55 Italian bombers and 21 fighters flew over Malta and dropped 142 bombs on the 3 airfields at Lucca, Halfar and Tacali. Later, 10 Italian Savia, Marchetti SM-79 and 20 Mac GC-200 flew over the island. with no air opposition. At the time of these first air raids, the defending fighters on Malta consisted of obsolete Gloucester Sea Gladiators in the How Far fighter flight. The last air raid over Malta occurred on the 20th of July 1943. It was the 3,340th alert since the 11th of June 1940. The Allied invasion of Sicily, also known as the Battle of Sicily and Operation Husky, was a major campaign of World War II in which Allied forces invaded the Italian island of Sicily in July 1943 and took it from the Axis forces of Fascist Italy and Nazi Germany. It paved the way for the Allied invasion of mainland Italy and initiated the Italian campaign that ultimately removed Italy from the war. The Allies used the Lascaris War Rooms for the advance headquarters of the invasion of Sicily. In July 1943, General Eisenhower, Admiral Cunningham, General Montgomery, and Air Marshal Tedder occupied the war rooms. The island was defended by the two corps of the Italian Sixth Army under General Alfredo Guzzoni, although specially designated fortress areas around the main ports Piazzi Militari Maritime were commanded by admirals subordinate to naval headquarters and independent of the Sixth Army. In early July, the total Axis force in Sicily was about 200,000 Italian troops, 32,000 German troops, and 30,000 Luftwaffe ground staff. The main German formations were the Panzer Division, Hermann Göring, and the 15th Panzer Grenadier Division. The Panzer Division had 99 tanks in 2 battalions, but was short of infantry with only 3 battalions, while the 15th Panzer Grenadier Division had 3 grenadier regiments and a tank battalion with 60 tanks. About half of the Italian troops were formed into 4 front-line infantry divisions and headquarters troops. The remainder were support troops or inferior coastal divisions and coastal brigades. The plan for Operation Husky called for the amphibious assault of Sicily by 2 Allied armies, one landing on the southeastern and one on the central southern coast. The amphibious assaults were to be supported by naval gunfire, as well as tactical bombing, interdiction, and close air support by the combined air forces. As such, the operation required a complex command structure incorporating land, naval, and air forces. The overall commander was American General Dwight D. Eisenhower as Commander-in-Chief of all the Allied forces in North Africa. British General Sir Harold Alexander acted as his second-in-command and as the 15th Army Group Commander. The American Major General Walter Bed L. Smith was appointed as Eisenhower's Chief of Staff. The overall naval force commander was the British Admiral Sir Andrew Cunningham. The Allied land forces were from the American, British, and Canadian armies and were structured as 2 task forces. The Eastern Task Force, also known as Task Force 545, was led by General Sir Bernard Montgomery and consisted of the British 8th Army, which included the 1st Canadian Infantry Division. The Western Task Force 343 was commanded by Lieutenant General George S. Patton and consisted of the American 7th Army. The 2 task force commanders reported to Alexander as commander of the 15th Army Group. A full-scale withdrawal, codenamed Operation Lehrgang, began on the 11th of August and continued to the 17th of August. During this period, Hube ordered successive withdrawals each night of between 8 and 24 kilometers, keeping the following Allied units at arm's length with the use of mines, demolitions, and other obstacles. As the peninsula narrowed, shortening his front, he was able to withdraw units for evacuation. The Allies attempted to counter this by launching brigade-sized amphibious assaults, one each by the 7th and 8th Armies, on the 15th of August. However, the speed of the Axis withdrawal was such that these operations hit air. Immediately after Allied landings, a number of instances where American troops killed civilians were reported. These included a massacre at Vittoria, where 12 civilians were killed, including the Podestar Vacket, another at Agrigento, and the Canicattì massacre, in which Lieutenant Colonel George Herbert Meade Caffrey fired into a civilian crowd looting a factory in Canicattì, which refused to disperse, killing 8. The US 7th Army lost 8,781 men, 2,237 killed or missing, 5,946 wounded, and 598 captured, while the British 8th Army suffered 11,843 casualties, 2,062 killed or missing, 7,137 wounded, and 2,644 captured. The US Navy lost 546 killed or missing and 484 wounded, and the Royal Navy lost 314 killed or missing, 411 wounded, and 4 captured. The USAF reported 28 killed, 88 missing, and 41 wounded. Canadian forces had suffered 2,310 casualties, including 562 killed, 1,664 wounded, and 84 captured. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, it really helps the channel. Tatty buys for now.